The next important right in the bundle of rights granted to a copyright owner under the copyright statute is the public distribution right. The public distribution right is an extremely important right in the marketplace for creative works. And put very basically, it applies to prevent further circulation and distribution of infringing copies. So at its simplest, what does the public distribution right do? Well, it gives the copyright owner the exclusive right to distribute copies of the work publicly, or to authorize such distributions of copies of the work publicly. Now, based on what I just said, it raises two obvious questions. What exactly is a copy? And secondly, what is a distribution? Now, these things may seem obvious in our lay usage, but they have particular connotations within the context of copyright law that one should be aware of. A copy, put very simply, is a reproduction of the protected expression, but it can be in any medium, now known or later developed. So in other words, it doesn't have to be in a particular format. Congress quite consciously wanted the idea of a copy to extend to any reproduction that is encapsulated in some tangible medium of expression. That's what a copy is. A distribution is defined by Congress in some way in the copyright statute to cover a sale or other transfer of ownership. So it includes a variety of other complicated transfers of ownership we see in business dealings, or extends beyond transfers of ownership to a rental, a lease, or a lending. So as you'll see from the understanding of a distribution, it pretty much covers all varieties of transfers that one can think of today in the marketplace. So again, the public distribution right gives the copyright owner the exclusive right to publicly distribute copies of the work. Now, note that it has to be a public distribution. So this raises the question, what exactly is a public distribution? It's not just the distribution right, it's a public distribution. Unfortunately for us, the idea of public in the public distribution right has not received too much attention. All that we know about the public in the public distribution right is that it shouldn't be a purely private distribution. Drawing the line between a private and a public distribution is somewhat unclear, but keep in mind, though, that once something is characterized as a public distribution based on the structure, we fall within the invocation of the public distribution right. Here's an actual example of how the public distribution right would function in practice, and it's a straightforward example that shows you how it works. So let's say John makes 400 copies through using a Xerox or photocopy machine of the most recent Harry Potter book, and then puts them up for sale in a bookstore for $1 each. Here, what John has clearly done is not just make copies, but has also started distributing copies of the work itself. And in so doing, John has not just violated the reproduction right, which he did when he made the copies, but also the public distribution right, when he started distributing them through the bookstore publicly for anyone to come in and buy. Now you may wonder, why do we need a separate right? Since John, in my hypothetical, just violated the reproduction right when he made the copies before distributing them. Well, the reason that the law creates a separate right is because the two different rights can be violated by two different people, which means that the copyright owner gets to pick and choose who to sue for infringement. And the copyright owner is completely at liberty to figure out who to go after based on a variety of different strategic considerations, including who is more wealthy. Sometimes it may be an individual who made the copy, but a big $1 million bookstore that is actually distributing it. In that situation, the copyright owner may decide to go after the violator of the distribution right rather than the reproduction right. So for example, in my hypothetical, if John sells the books to Adam, who then sells half of them to Eve, who then sells 5 copies to her friends, John, Adam, and Eve have all violated the public distribution right, but only John has violated the reproduction right. And the copyright owner gets to choose who to go after here and for what particular rights. It isn't as though every subsequent violation triggers additional penalties or additional damages. It's a variety of different strategic considerations surrounding litigation. And that's the reason why the Copyright Act today contains a variety of different rights within its bundle, and each of these rights can be disaggregated or broken down, and the copyright owner gets to choose who to go after and why and when for strategic considerations. So to recap, the public distribution right is an exceptionally important right in the marketplace because it allows the copyright owner to control the circulation of copies of the work. And at the end of the day, since copyright is mostly about the economics of the creative work, it's the public distribution right that impacts the incentive of the copyright owner to be able to commercialize the work and keep infringing works out of the marketplace. That's the public distribution right.